So here's something to think about. On one side, we're told to relax and enjoy life. Yeah, live to the fullest, be your true self. And then on the other side, we're judging people so harshly, and you're going to hell. My throat is starting to act funny, sorry. We're excluding people from things and things like that. What are you doing? You can't do both. You can't say, oh yes, yes, and then, oh no, no, no. It doesn't make sense. Listen to what you say, people. Listen to what you believe. Pay attention to the words that you say, to the things that you feel. Stop following what is happening out there. Become alive and do what, open yourself. Don't affect people. Do what for yourself, So, and we're all here to learn that lesson. It's hard to do that because we're scared, we're ashamed. Oh, what do the people say? Well, the neighbors say, what's the priest going to say? Or what's my boss going to say? Or, who the hell bloody cares? They're no one to tell you or to judge you. They're not in any place. They're in the same position as you. This is what my topic is about. So, we're all about becoming aware, and there's more to us than meets the eye. Have you thought that, it's not about, oh, he acts gay, or he wants to be a girl, or she wants to be a guy. Yeah, they probably do. They do. But, for example, when actors, would you tell an actor, or could you tell an actor, alright, this is your role, this is what you're going to do. It's like this tiny description, and you have to play this description through the whole movie and your whole career. I don't think any actor would take that job. Actors change. A personality changes. A personality is not like this, it's like this. And that the same thing goes for people. We're real living important things. We're not like this, that, this and this. Who do you think you are to tell us what to do, how to do it, who we are? No. We're like this, we're open. We're circular, we're like a light shining from a little ball, and just all these rays coming out like a star. So an actor is not just one thing. So why do we have to be, just male, just female? And there are a few in the world that are both. They're male and female. They have both parts naturally. Hermaphrodite, or whatever they're called. But then, so we're not just our bodies. Just because, I'm a male, that I have to be like this, and this, and this, and maybe this. But if you're doing this, then you can do this, and if you got this, you can do that. Who do you think you are? Come on. Get off it. Get your finger off it. Get your finger out of it. So, this is to our own benefit, to our own realization and our own awareness that we're more than this. We're not just male. A lot of us, without even knowing, are both. More, not just both. We're more than that. Why do we have to play this tight little small role? If we say, oh, it's one life, enjoy it, live it. Well, society has already done this to us and put us in this tiny little box, smaller than this, to be honest. Your worth as a character is smaller than this box. It's smaller than this lid of this pen. Maybe the tip of it. Does that sound good to you? No, it doesn't sound like a life worth living. No matter who says it, whether it's religion or this, God wouldn't tell you. God wouldn't say that. God, if you believe in God, all His creations, they're out there in the world. Amazing, endless number and amount of variety. There's not just 5 plants, 5 fruit trees, 5 cactuses, 5 this, 5 that, 5 grasses. There's millions out there, and they change. So why would a God create people into this lid, this lid, that lid? That sounds stupid, doesn't it? For someone such a miraculous and able to do things, to put things into little tiny dots now. That's wrong already. Anyway, so acting is fake. We are real. We are more than our personality. We're not just male and female. We have these bodies to do what we can with them, yeah? They anchor us into life, and we carry them around wherever they take us places. But what's inside us doesn't fit into that. Even our own bodies, they have they have certain functions, but you practice and you do things. You can become a weightlifter, you can become a dancer, you can, there's a lot of things you can do with the body, and you can enjoy it, and there's a lot of different ways of enjoying it. People like pain. Some people like to be teased about pain instead of pain itself. Some people like, to be pushed away because that's what turns them on. Open your thoughts, mate. Open your thoughts. So when we see people out there, that are a man acting like a woman or a woman acting like a man, think to yourself, stop wasting your time judging it and saying, oh, that looks ugly, oh, this looks ugly. Probably it does, sometimes it doesn't. I've met some people that are gay, and I thought, I feel comfortable around this person. I don't feel, I don't get into that judging role or whatever. And it feels fine, just talking to them and hanging around them, that was good. And then there are some, you say, oh my God, what's going on? Please don't do this. Don't say that, and then you get embarrassed. That's another topic, being embarrassed. So all that is when you are with people like that, and not just that, in use that same example in other parts of life, it's like evidence to give. It's and it is part of this world. It's real. It's happening. It's not just a joke. It's a joke and it's not a joke at the same time. It's good and it's bad at the same time. Who's to judge what's good and what's bad? According to who? According to what? What are your needs? What is it? Why is it bad? It's to make you aware that, hey, we're more than this. We're not just this. We're not just this. We're this and this and that one over there, and that, and this, and this, and this, and this. We're a lot of things. There's a lot of things around us that we can't even see because our eyes aren't able to lock into all the frequencies and all the different viewing points. The light spectrum, I think we can only see this much, or maybe even less. Read up on it. What's part of the spectrum can the eyes see? Where our eyes are made to only see this part. What about all the other parts? Have you ever thought of that? So it's not about being closed-minded or open-minded. It's just wake up and see all the possibilities that are happening and that are out there, and it's just to make you aware that we're not this little thing. We're more than that, and we need to open our understanding to all these things. They're coming out. We're knowing more about them every year. You got people who can't grow. They just start they judge and they criticize and all this stuff without having looked in the mirror, which is really strange. You see some of these people look in the mirror, mate, and yeah, it's not everything is just male and female. There are, and not everyone likes just male or just female. If you're going to like something, I'm only allowed to like this because it's red. I'm not allowed to like it because it's shiny. Can you imagine if the world was designed around that, and nature and everything? Would that be a very pleasant place to live in? I don't think so. So imagine going to work and I'm only allowed to write these words. I'm not allowed to write all these other words. I have to stick with these 40 words and I have to make my report using the same 40 words. But no, they allow you to write more and more and more. Isn't that right? So yeah, that's what this topic is about. So when you enjoy things, there's a lot of reasons and a lot of things you enjoy about something. But don't be scared to go and enjoy things. Don't be scared to talk to people who you want to talk to, who you admire for some reason. It could be their smile, their voice, their manner, it could be their clothes. But how far can you get and just talk about clothes? So yeah, have you ever thought that there's more to than what meets the eye? Things happen around us for our own benefit. Maybe we need to stand up. Maybe we need to take action about this. Maybe this is the direction that our life is supposed to go, instead of that same 10-hour day at the same job, the same chair, the same pen, or whatever. You don't know what you do. Why do the same thing day in, day out, every day? Maybe we should restructure the way people work. Maybe everyone should have 3 casual jobs, Every Monday and Tuesday you're here, every Wednesday and Thursday here, every Friday and blah blah blah. Every second Friday you're doing this, you're doing that. Isn't that the way of the future? To be better, to have more variety, to be better for ourselves. Do you really want to go to the same job every day of your life? Come on. Ask yourself questions. Always ask yourself this question. Stop being an ignorant, arrogant stool in the corner of your life, in the corner of the world, in the corner of your room. Be more than what you are, because you are. The biggest thing is to have respect. And respect all the things around you. Everything, objects, the air. Respect it. You see, it will treat you differently. You'll feel differently. But it's better for you. You become a better person, a bigger person. Your spirit just comes up. You become more awake. These human forms constrict us. We only use a tiny bit of our brain. Isn't it time that we use more of it? We're not going to grow as a person, or as our brains aren't going to be used more if we keep doing the same things every day of our lives, yeah? We need to learn to do different things and to expand and try and use that rest of our brain. Why is it scientists always say we only use a tiny bit of our brain? And well, where's the other bit? What's that there for? Just for decoration? It's obviously there. We're not using it. How do we do that? So yeah, things are in those type of ways. For example, males are not just male. They're more than male. It's for our own realization. It's to say, we need to start. Stop constricting ourselves and start, expanding ourselves and become more, not just that it's aware, but to wake up to the realization that there's more to us than what we know and see. And we need to expand, explore, adventure. We need to learn and go and find these things. How do we do this?
So back to the gender agenda. People say if you mess around with the gender roles, that you start confusion, and especially with kids, confusion, eh? Well, why don't we start with Santa Claus? Stop telling people about the imaginary Santa Claus. It's one way to address confusion that's really been happening and allowably happening, in our human society Kids are smart. Stop making them out to be dumb. Fairy tale stories, it doesn't end. There's actually a long list, and let's get fairy tales out of the way. Confusing. How about having life expectations? Fairness, unfairness, politics. Governments don't give a damn about, you know. They're always breaking the laws and making laws to suit their own needs. So that's confusion, breaking contracts and making it legal. Logging forests in a country where most of the land is desert. Welcome to Australia. Then you got climate change. That's confusing. You know, why would a desert country log its very few, wet rainforests? In Sydney, there's a lot of they're getting rid of a lot of there's beautiful hills, green hills are just outside the Sydney suburbs, and now they're building suburbs like towns there. And when you look at the people are lazy now. Plants are getting expensive, but people are just lazy. Most of the block of their land is house and driveway. There's no gardens, no one's planting trees, no one's planting any, it doesn't look nice. There's no greenery, it's just all concrete and extra climate change issues. But the people, but it's the government that allows builders. They don't educate builders, and they allow them to do this, to overbuild on a land and not reserve anything for nature space, or even nature space between towns or inside towns. And those beautiful, you go for a beautiful drive outside the city, as what you need to do when you live in a city. And they're disappearing now. No more green joyrides out into the countryside in Sydney. There's no more countryside. They've all killed it. They've logged it. There were farms with green grass and animals, and now they're boring suburbs. So yeah, that's confusing of why you talk about climate change and logging trees in it anyway. Well, what else is confusing? We got war. Does anyone understand the goodness of war? What's going on here? Hatred between races, especially neighboring countries, especially when they have a common gene in their lineage, they're actually related. That's confusing, Countries that actually have the same genes next to each other, killing each other even in war times and denying each other human rights. That's confusing. And meanwhile, they want to claim, we own the church, we own this religion, we thought of it first. Well then, how about practicing what your religion says, and peace and love and acceptance and tolerance and brotherhood and all that stuff? Yeah, right. That's confusing. So I think gender issues, geez. So back to the gender agenda. People say if you mess around with the gender roles, that you start confusion, and especially with kids. Confusion, eh? Well, why don't we start with Santa Claus? Stop telling people about the imaginary Santa Claus. It's one way to address confusion that's really been happening and allowably happening, in our human society. Kids are smart. Stop making them out to be dumb. Fairy tale stories, It doesn't end. There's actually a long list, and let's get fairy tales out of the way. Confusing. How about having life expectations? Fairness, unfairness, politics. Oh, governments don't give a damn about, you know. They're always breaking the laws and making laws to suit their own needs. So that's confusion, breaking contracts and making it legal. Logging forests in a country where most of the land is desert. Welcome to Australia. Then you got climate change. That's confusing. You know, why would a desert country log its very few, wet rainforests? In Sydney, there's a lot of they're getting rid of a lot of there's beautiful hills, green hills are just outside the Sydney suburbs, and now they're building suburbs like towns there. And when you look at the people are lazy now. Plants are getting expensive, but people are just lazy. Most of the block of their land is house and driveway. There's no gardens, no one's planting trees, no one's planting any, it doesn't look nice. There's no greenery, it's just all concrete and extra climate change issues. But the people, but it's the government that allows builders. They don't educate builders, and they allow them to do this, to overbuild on a land and not reserve anything for nature space, or even nature space between towns or inside towns. And those beautiful, you go for a beautiful drive outside the city, as what you need to do when you live in a city. And they're disappearing now. No more green joyrides out into the countryside in Sydney. There's no more countryside. They've all killed it. They've logged it. There were farms with green grass and animals, and now they're boring suburbs. So yeah, that's confusing, of why you talk about climate change and logging trees in it anyway. Well, what else is confusing? We got war. Does anyone understand the goodness of war? What's going on here? Hatred between races, especially neighboring countries, especially when they have a common gene in their lineage, they're actually related. That's confusing, Countries that actually have the same genes next to each other, killing each other even in war times, and denying each other human rights. That's confusing. And meanwhile, they want to claim, we own the church, we own this religion, we thought of it first. Well then, how about practicing what your religion says, and peace and love and acceptance and tolerance and brotherhood and all that stuff? Yeah, right. That's confusing. So I think gender issues, geez. There's a lot of goodies there if you want to start talking about confusing. Life turning out not the way you expected. That's confusing. How many times have you seen get an awesome job, not taking their work seriously, not taking an interest in their subject, not doing assignments on time, copying of other students, whereas someone next to them is an awesome candidate, who's smart, interested, on time, does work, puts their heart in the work. Their life has just gone in the opposite direction. That's confusing. That's confusing. Their life has just gone in the opposite direction. That's confusing. That's confusing. Kids adapt. It's older people, adults, that don't adapt. You can't teach an old dog new tricks. Yeah, kids won't be confused if they have 2 dads or 2 mums or 3 mums or 7 dads, or the more the merrier, you know. Usually kids love people. They love, if you've got a nice, loving and friendly family, kids are people loving. And they're very tolerant and accepting. It's adults that aren't, not kids. Kids see through clean, fresh, innocent, loving eyes. You know, if they have a loving environment around them, that's what they'll see. They won't see that, you know, they'll observe, oh, I've got 2 dads next door. They've only got 1 dad and only 1 mum. I've got 2 dads and 3 mums. You know, it's like, wow, who do you listen to? Who's the boss? So yeah, I just wanted to add that into the conversation, and in this beautiful setting where I am now. Well, I'm here at the coast, and I'm waiting for whales to jump out of the ocean. It's whale season. Nothing yet. I'm in Sydney. Yes, I've been waiting here for a while, just listening to the footy on the radio. A lot of wind out there. I opened the door. By the way, I'd laugh if there was a whale jumping in the back and I didn't see it. So I'm counting on you guys to see if anything happened.